Hi, I'm going to give a speech about hiking. Hiking is something that I've done my entire life, and it's something more recently that I've gotten more involved with and do just about every weekend. So the first thing I wanted to share with you is that there's some examples of places that I've found to hike. One of them's in real close to where I live. It's in the Santa Fe National Forest. It's called the Los Pinos Trail. And if you search the Santa Fe National Forest, you'll find all the trails that are there. This is just one of them. And what it is it starts at the base of the Jemez Mountains on the west side, and it climbs to 2,800 feet along, and it winds about 2.5 miles along a creek and through the aspen and fir trees. And it's a really beautiful hike. It's also, this trail is actually part of the Continental Divide Trail, and that's a trail that extends from Mexico to Canada, and it goes through the Los Pinos Trail. And if you want to find more about that, if you go to the CDT Society, if you search that, you'll get to their website. Another example of places that I found to hike was when I was in Boca Raton, Florida. Once I could get to the beachfront through one of the sister motels that I was staying at, I was able to walk up and down the beachfront, and it went for miles and miles. I never actually saw like where it would end, and you'd have to get off of it, but it was a really beautiful venue for hiking and seeing the sea life. We actually got to see sea turtle nests that had come the night before. It was really beautiful. Another one is in San Antonio along the river there. There's a walkway that goes on either side of the river, and for miles and miles and miles, and it's actually lower than the rest of the roads and stuff, so it cuts off a lot of the noise, and it's just really peaceful. Some tips on where to find other hiking places are, the first one is the U.S. Forest Service and Bureau of Land Management. They are one of the best places to find places to hike, because they have lots of roads that go through them for different purposes. There's trails that they maintain, and there's also, you can just go cross country because it's public land and you don't have to worry about trespassing. So another opportunity is, like I explained about the ocean and the river in San Antonio, any waterway. Usually rivers, especially in cities, have designated wildlife reserves or actual trails that travel along the river. And of course the ocean and lake shores are also a good place to hike around. Another place that you probably wouldn't think of is municipal biking and jogging trails. Every city has them, and as long as if you can find a map or something of where they're at, those usually go on for miles and miles too, and they're very safe. You know, they have them well marked and stuff. And also just a regular sidewalk downtown, usually in downtown areas where you can see the architecture and stuff. You can go for quite a ways. So the next thing I wanted to do is give some tips on how to be prepared for the hiking adventures that you go on. First of all, you want to be safe, and so I think one of the most important things is to let somebody know where you're at and when you're leaving and when you expect to be back, so that if something does go wrong, they'll go looking for you before it's too late. Another thing is, if you have a cell phone, it's good to know that if you dial 911, you actually will get service even though your provider doesn't have service in that area. So any provider has to pick you up. It's an FCC regulation. You can actually search that website for the FCC, and if you just type in wireless 911 services, you'll get their rules on that. The next thing is to be prepared for your hike. Take provisions that match the hike that you're going to go on. If you're going to go on a short hike, maybe a bottle of water is enough. If you're going to go for a few hours, you want to make sure and take some food and stuff like that. And then also you want to pick a trail that you can physically handle. If you pick one that's too hard, you won't be able to finish, or just be prepared to turn around if you need to. The other thing is to dress for the terrain. Flip-flops have never worked for me. A good pair of tennis shoes or hiking boots and some good socks will go a long way. And of course, if you're going cross country, you want to be wearing long sleeves and pants so that you don't get scraped up by the brush. And then, of course, if there's any chance of rain, you want to take a raincoat. And of course, if it's cold, you want to dress in layers so that you can be extra warm. The other thing is you want to know your surroundings by getting any maps that are available and study them before you go. The other thing is to, especially if you're in a city, to write down where you started, what street or what area you're at, or even the trail that you started on, in case you get lost. It's a good reference point. Or if you have a map, you always know where you started. The other thing is, as you're hiking along or walking, make sure that when you find a good marker, something that catches your attention, like a hill that looks different, or a tree, or a building that you really like, as you pass it, take a moment to turn around and look at it so you can see what it'll look like when you're coming back the other way, so you can recognize it, because it looks a little different. That's just something that I've noticed, and it's helped me to come back to where I started. So that's what I've got as far as the different things that I've learned about hiking. So I hope that helps you so that you can go on your own little hike and have some fun.